Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Michigan Prep Frenzy podcast. I'm your host, Brayden at Gameday.
I'm Tyler from Michigan Prep Frenzy.
In today's episode, we are going to be covering the game of the week from week 7, as well as some of our other ranked and notable matchups. But first, I have some exciting news to share. And that is, I have finally released some of my metrics. If you go to the MI Game Day website, you can now see I am sharing our metrics weekly with the updated scores calculated in, as well as the updated media poll displayed along with it.
Yeah, it's a really cool tool. Pretty fun to click around and see, what offenses may be outperforming or defenses are kind of overachieving and kind of an overall, who's the best well-rounded teams, things like that. So really fun to play around with.
Yeah, right now we've got it just looking at all of the divisions, currently looking at offensive ratings from worst to best, just seeing what, some of the most underperforming teams on the rankings are. But you can see here, you can take a look at some of the top teams and compare it to, how my numbers like them. My numbers absolutely loving Portage Central, especially that defense. Looking at their defense, they're coming in a whole more than one whole point ahead of Big Rapids at number 2. Tyler, I believe you told me today that in every game so far this season, they've allowed either 0 or 6 points.
Yeah, just complete and utter domination.
Yeah, but this is up on migameday.com/team dash ratings. You can find it linked on my Twitter as well. But if you hear Tyler and I referencing these metrics, this is where you can find them and take a look for yourself.
Yeah, pretty fun, pretty interesting to separate it by divisions as well and see kind of who's stacking up as maybe, a dark horse team that might make a run in the playoffs and maybe who might be on upset alert.
Yeah, really, I like it as a way to, keep tabs on teams that we may not be talking about or thinking about enough. Maybe there's a 4-3 team out there that is just quietly putting together a really good offensive or defensive season and flying under the radar because, they played some tough competition or just started a little bit slow out of the gate.
There actually is quite a few of those kinds of teams. Lots of teams that we don't have ranked that are up there. Like, for instance, Fordson, Utica, and Farmington, all not ranked in our media poll, but they're still getting respect through the numbers. So, kind of an interesting thing to see some of the teams that may be, outperforming what we think they are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that, we can jump right into our game of the week. This week, Tyler and I went to East Kentwood at Hudsonville for what very well could be one of the best games of the season. This was just an unbelievable game. So much talent on both sides. We saw East Kentwood going up early. They were airing the ball out really well. Cade Goffman looking very solid running the ball, moving the chains without much difficulty. But come later in the second quarter and then early on in the third, Hudsonville kind of stole that momentum back. Then we saw a late East Kentwood drive to take the lead with 31 seconds left.
Yeah.
And then Hudsonville stormed back down, won the game. It was very exciting. A lot of action, a lot of back and forth.
Yeah. Both teams, I kind of made the comment almost right away. I'm like, man, I wish neither of these teams had to lose because they were both playing extremely well. The offense is just getting up and down the field. But yeah, impressive, kind of drive there for East Kentwood to get the go ahead score with 30 seconds left. And it was like, oh man, East Kentwood comes into Hudsonville and steals one. And then Hudsonville executed maybe the best 2-minute offense that I've ever seen in high school. just quick outs, getting separation, winning routes, getting out of bounds. And they were able to kind of storm down the field and set themselves up for a difficult but manageable Hail Mary. And then Brady Van Lake, who just played out of his mind, um, kind of put the game on his shoulders, rolled out, scrambled around, waiting for a wide receiver to make a play. Kind of hucked it down there. A guy tipped it, and Drew Meerman came down with the huge catch.
Yeah,
And then that was kind of wild. But an underrated part of that whole situation was the fact that he came down with a catch, and the bench ran out onto the field. But it was only 42-42 at the time. They still needed to kick the extra point, so they ended up getting flagged for 15 yards for the bench clearing the sidelines, which made it actually a more difficult
yeah,
field goal. And then East Kentwood actually jumped off sides, being able to kind of move them back. So kind of a crazy way to end it. And then Hudsonville ended up nailing it, and everybody's a hero.
yeah. Lot of late drama, just piled on by those last second penalties. Um, I was looking back through some of the game notes and saw that uh, Hudsonville on that last drive, they had four straight completions that went out of bounds, all for 9 or more yards. They were just getting play after play off. At one point, I believe it was their second to last play, they had 6 seconds on the clock and they managed to pick up another, I believe it was 14 yards on that play to put themselves on the 25-yard line and set themselves up for that game winning touchdown.
Yeah, just really impressive. That's exactly how you teach it. And Brent Sandy, one of the best coaches in the state, clearly has been repping that in practice for a long time because they went out there and executed like they do it every week. And in our interview that I have posted on my Twitter, he actually talked about we don't get to do this very often. We've kind of been up on teams quite often. We haven't had a ton of chances to, kind of practice that in real game situations. So credit to them for, kind of taking it all in practice and being able to translate it when you get out on the field.
Yeah. One thing that you and I were talking about at the game was kind of a head scratch moment when East Kentwood scored. Like I said, they had 31 seconds left. They scored and went up five, and then they elected to kick the extra point instead of going for two. Something that even before they gave Hudsonville the ball back just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not sure if you've heard anything further on that or if you've heard any statements from the coaches. I definitely thought it was a bit strange. Obviously, it doesn't mean that they would or wouldn't have won had they gone for it, and even if they had converted it, because Hudsonville themselves had already converted a 2 point earlier in the game. But it was definitely a moment where the decision just didn't make a whole lot of sense as far as giving themselves a chance to win.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. Coach Spencer, usually I don't think of him as a guy that would, flub a situation like that. And I know after that decision was made and the play was already over, we heard people on the sideline kind of being like, wait, why did we do that? Um, so I don't really know what the thinking was behind it. Definitely kind of interesting that it kind of set Hudsonville up to know exactly what they needed to do and they were able to execute it. So yeah, I definitely probably would have went for 2, I guess, but, maybe oversight or maybe there was a reason for it that maybe I wasn't thinking of. So, yeah, definitely strange thing to happen.
Yeah, and could have just been a misunderstanding of the score because you had pointed out earlier in the game that when East Kentwood had gone and gotten their 2 point conversion, that the scoreboard was not tracking it right, and they actually went up 9 points after that because they had mistakenly taken 1 point off and a few moments later added the 8 points plus that one missing point back on. So, there was just a little bit of technical difficulties there, and could have been that, maybe there was a misunderstanding because of something like that. Either way, a little strange, but, back to the coaches, a lot of respect between both coaches and really between both sidelines. It was pretty cool experience after the game getting to sit and watch the two teams come together and the coaches from both squads address the teams in unison. Hudsonville being very gracious hosts, thanking East Kentwood for coming. East Kentwood, their coaches coming in and addressing the Hudsonville team, saying, congrats on this win. We came in here, we fought hard. We don't want to walk away with a loss, but a lot of respect for you guys. And one of us had to lose today.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool because it's such a competitive conference, and I think everyone kind of has the mutual respect of each other. You hear the coaches talk about it all the time that there's 0 weeks off in this conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone just has a ton of respect for each other. So yeah, it was cool to see it kind of, you know, come out in some emotion after the game. It would have been very easy for East Kentwood to lose in the heartbreaking way that they do on a Hail Mary and, just go get on the bus and go home. But the fact that they stuck around and congratulated them and, did a word of prayer and stuff like that, it definitely was interesting and kind of cool to see those communities come together.
Yeah, just a moment of, uh, taking a step back from the game and showing just respect to both teams. Good little moment. And like you said, it could have been very easy for East Kentwood to just walk off the field and go home. Definitely a lot more difficult to kind of sober yourself up in that moment and, you know, take that step back.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it's all about. It was really cool to see. And yeah, I think both of these teams still have pretty high hopes going forward. So there's a very good chance as well, from what I've seen, that these two teams meet again. So should be interesting once they get into the postseason here.
Yeah, it should be just another banger of a game if they match up again. Uh, would not want to miss out on that.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Up next, we're going to jump into our ranked matchups, starting with number 8, Clarkston, taking on 18, West Bloomfield, and beating them 38-10 in really dominating win. This Clarkston team just moving right along through their schedule after that early loss in the season to number 9, Harper Woods. Clarkston proving that they are a legitimate contender for a state title. And this West Bloomfield team is about as battle tested as they come. And coming in with this win, Clarkston, as of week 7, is boasting wins over number 15, number 18, number 23, and number 24 in our media poll.
This is a really battle tested group. So is West Bloomfield, though. I mean, in the OAA red, you're gonna kind of get that. You're gonna be really battle tested. But yeah, no, Clarkson's done a really good job, kind of overcoming that loss. And every week, we'll get to it here in a minute. Every week, that loss becomes less and less tragic. I mean, I think Harper Woods may just be a buzzsaw. So yeah, West Bloomfield still got a lot in front of them as well. They've played pretty well. Got some really good wins in there, but yeah, Clarkston has just kind of separated themselves from the rest of the OAA and have kind of shown that they are the team to beat out of that area.
Yeah. Uh, well, like you said, moving on to our next game, that was number 9, Harper Woods at number 2, Saline. And Harper Woods snagging the win here 41-32. This another jump up in divisions for Harper Woods that they seem to handle. Uh, can't say it's easy against a team like Celine, but they handled it better than I honestly had even expected. I thought that with the talent on the Celine team, they would come in and struggle, even if they did get a win, but they jumped out to a lead and just kind of had control of the game for most of it.
Yeah, it's insane that we're talking about a team that has D1 commits all over it, losing to a D4 team, but that D4 team also has D1 guys all over it. So, super high level game, super, competitive teams. Both of these teams in their respective divisions still have, everything in front of them. Still, I mean, I think Selena's still, a top 5 team in D1 should have a legitimate shot at making a deep run. And Harper Woods, if they weren't already, they are, cut and dry the number one team in D4. And honestly, every week that passes, I have no idea who's gonna even compete with them. Like, does Goodrich, Divine Child, Hudsonville Unity Christian, do any of those teams have anything for Harper Woods at all?
Yeah, I know that looking at those teams, I would say especially Unity Christian, they would have a decent shot just because their offense is so high level. But I'm going to be honest, if you're getting in a shootout, I wouldn't want to do it against Harper Woods.
I mean, right now with your numbers the way that they lie, Ludington, Big Rapids, Goodrich, Unity Christian, Williamston, and Divine Child are kind of the next group of teams. Um, and I like those teams, but man, I don't think any of those teams would beat or maybe even compete with Saline or Clarkston for that matter. So it's hard for me to see a team that's going to match up well. I mean, the skill positions are ridiculous. They're really good in the trenches. They're just as well rounded of a team as there is in the state.
Yeah, Harper Woods, after this game, they are the only team in the state that currently has wins over two top 10 teams in our media poll, that being Saline and Clarkston. And that, for me, was enough to bump them up to my number one spot in my poll this week. And looking at my metrics, they actually have Harper Woods at the number three overall spot, I do believe.
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. They have met the number four spot, sitting right behind Port Central, Orchard Lake St. Mary, and Saline. And clearly, we just saw what happens when they actually meet on the field. That Harper Woods can handle Saline and probably be able to hang with Portage Central or Orchard Lake St. Mary's just the same.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're even talking about that with a team like this. But yeah, they're just as loaded as any team in the state. And yeah, I have no idea how anyone in D4 is gonna, match up with them at all.
Yeah, moving on, we have number 38 Stony Creek, 12, at number 43 Birmingham Groves with 29. Groves coming in, finding their first win over top 50 competition this season. This was coming off of pretty lackluster performances against West Bloomfield in a loss and a fairly pedestrian win over Southfield A&T, which they took that one out 43-22. They look like a team that, with a solid win, good margin of victory here, might be hitting their stride just in time for the postseason.
Stony Creek has been one of those teams that we kind of, maybe have punished a little bit for some of the losses, but they have good losses. Um, and they've hung with some teams that you wouldn't maybe necessarily think that they did. So, yeah, it's a pesky team. So this is a really good win for Groves, a team that they, are pretty familiar with. So that kind of helps as well. So, yeah, this is a kind of nice momentum boost heading into the last couple weeks of the season. Um, and yeah, all attention kind of turns towards the playoffs here in a couple weeks. So we'll see if this can carry.
Up next, we have one that we had predicted correctly was going to be a very low scoring game, but I'm actually fairly surprised at the outcome here. That was number 34, Utica Eisenhower, 7 at Macomb, Dakota, number 26 with 14. Dakota coming out of this with a one score win and uh, looking like they are perfectly comfortable riding a very talented defense to victory, just like they had all season.
They just keep doing it, man. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they do. They don't score a ton of points, but they have shut down the majority of offenses that they've played. Romeo got away from them, but even that game was low scoring for quite a long time. So um, it definitely was a struggle for even Romeo to get a hold of them. So yeah, another 14-7 type of victory for Dakota. Yeah, this is a good win. They don't impress me, but you know, they keep winning, so it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Yeah. Up next is number 27, Gibraltar Carlson. At number 42, Brownstown Woodhaven. Gibraltar Carlson coming out of this one up 27-23. Woodhaven came into this one without a ton of stiff competition on their resume, and they were unable to pull off the upset against their toughest opponent to date. Um, Still managed to keep this in a really close match, losing by 4. Solid argument to be made here that this team is ranked here at 42, right where they should be. Um, Playing against the number 27 team, really kind of the outcome we would expect. They've got some matchups in the next couple weeks against Trenton and Taylor, and this looks like a team that could be poised to end their season 8-1.
Yeah, no, I think everything is fine there. I don't think they need to be too concerned over this loss. I think Carlson's going to do that to a lot more teams the rest of this season. They're just legit, all the way around. They're really good offensively. They've been solid defensively. It seems like they kind of shut down Woodhaven for the most part, and that's an offense that's been scoring at a pretty rapid clip. So yeah, really good win for them. It's hard to stop a guy who's committed to a Power Four program like Carlson has. So credit to them to even holding them under 30, to be honest.
Yeah, tough ask for anybody. Moving on past our ranked matchups into some other pretty notable games. First, we have the game that I picked for my upset of the week last week and failed miserably. I took Grand Ledge over DeWitt, and this game ended with Grand Ledge 7, number 13 DeWitt 59. So, not
Yeah.
quite as close as I had expected.
Yeah, no, DeWitt just keeps doing it, man, and they do it in different ways. I mean, they've been able to, win some of the ones where they didn't put up insane offensive performances. And then they've had games like this where they put up almost 60. So a couple winnable games for, DeWitt the rest of the season. So no reason they can't keep this rolling right on into the playoffs. And Grand Ledge has to regroup fast because they've got Detroit Catholic Central this week. So no time, no time to feel sorry for yourself after losing to DeWitt. You've got another, you know, top team coming in, and this one might even be worse. So
Yeah, DeWitt might be slightly higher ranked offense, but this Detroit Catholic Central team is a monster on both sides of the ball, and I will be impressed if Grand Ledge is able to score more than once or twice on them.
yeah, no, I don't see a lot of opportunities for big things to happen for them, unfortunately.
All right, up next is number 22 Granville 28 at Grand Haven 42.
Yeah, this was my upset pick. I'm 2-0 now over the last 2 weeks with Ithaca last week and then Granville losing to Grand Haven this week. But it just it felt like it was kind of coming. It felt like this one, you know, had that written all over it. Granville struggled with Jennison last week. And I said it on the pod last time. I thought Grand Haven was just more talented than Jennison. It's going to be harder to keep up with them. Um, but to give up 42, that's tough. But that's what happens when you don't have a phenomenal running back that's able to keep the ball in your possession for extended periods of time. So good for them. This is the first time that they beat Granville since 2013. So Coach Biedenbender has to be pumped for that. Getting that for his guys. They're kind of out of playoff contention realistically, especially with Hudsonville and East Kentwood over the next couple weeks. Um, Getting to play spoiler and beating a team that you haven't beaten in over 10 years, that one's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, really solid win for them there. Doesn't matter, who's in or out with Granville. Uh, like you said, they hadn't beat them since 2013. Uh, Tank Terry has not been there that long. This is a team that has been a problem for them, and doesn't matter how you do it. They got over that hump, and they did it with a 2-score win.
Yeah, no, not just squeaking one out. Seems like they kind of controlled the game and went out and did what they're supposed to do, against a beat up team that you should be better than. So yeah, great job by them. Coach Biedenbender is one of the good ones over there. He does a really good job. It's a tough place to win and a tough conference to win. Um, and so him getting wins over teams like Granville, that's got to feel really good for him.
Yep, absolutely. Congrats to him on that very solid win. Up next, we've got Whitehall 7 at number 50, Ludington 32. This Ludington team just continuing to roll.
Yeah, this is a really good team. And actually, it was really tightly contested. I think it was 7-0 Whitehall or 7-7 or something like that into the second quarter. And then Ludington was just able to break it open. So they just keep steamrolling their competition. They'll still have their biggest test in a couple weeks. They got Tri County in week 9, so that's going to be kind of a challenge for them. But at this point, I don't know if I don't even know if that one's a challenge for him. So, um, Whitehall, they're still, doing what they're supposed to do in their division, firmly in the playoffs in D5. So no real big issues there. They beat Zealand West earlier in the season, so they've got what it takes to win against some good teams. So no concern for them either. But yeah, really crazy result to see Ludington just go out there and blow them out like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great win for them. And really just expecting them to keep it rolling like that for the rest of the regular season. And pretty excited to see them come up against maybe some more challenging teams in the postseason, but fully expecting them to make a little bit of noise there.
Yeah, yeah, I think this is a team that can surprise some people. It's not a, traditional power by any means. So yeah, really good job by them to kind of come out of the woodwork and be that team that, you know, might surprise some people in the postseason.
Yeah. Up next, we have Toledo Central Catholic at number 3, Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Toledo with 21 to Orchard Lake St. Mary's 36.
Yeah, they keep rolling now. Orchard Lake St. Mary, you know, really doing a good job after, kind of their tough loss earlier in the season to Detroit Catholic Central. Um, I think Toledo Central Catholic, I think we can kind of say right now they're a little down. Um, Unfortunately, it kind of feels that way. Still a lot of talent there. Still D1 guys on that roster up and down. So, um, yeah, really impressive win by Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They kind of continue to be, you know, probably less of the favorite. I mean, I think the gap has narrowed a little bit. Still think they're the one. But I think teams like, Portage Central, Dexter have kind of started to close that gap on them.
Yeah, agree with you there. My metrics, as we said, love this Portage Central team, especially on defense. And this Dexter offense is my number 1 rated in the state. Uh, Orchard Lake St. Mary, a little bit more balanced than the two of them. But if we get to see any matchups between those three, it will be fun.
Yeah, no, I love all three of those teams, and I would kind of book that at least two of them will be, kind of in that final four. So
Yeah. And, on the other side, this is Toledo Central Catholic team that we don't keep a ton of tabs on because outside of our state, but they do play in the same league as a lot of these Michigan schools. And this team, 4-4, but their loss is coming to Cass Tech in a 1-score game. It's Detroit Catholic Central in a 27-14 loss, and then a loss to Orchard Lake St. Mary's here, and their first loss of the season to Walsh Jesuit, who's now sitting at 6-1.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's a gauntlet of a schedule.
It really is.
That is as battle tested as you can be. We talk about being battle tested. I don't even know if that's battle tested. I mean, that's wounded at this point.
Yeah.
They're getting beaten down weekly. So, good on them to even be competitive in those matchups because those are elite teams.
Yeah, and I mean they're snagging wins against Brother Rice, De La Salle, River Rouge, and St. John's Jesuit. So it's not like they're beating up on nobodies either.
Yeah, no, they are still solid, but yeah, definitely by their standards, probably a down year. Probably not a couple of those teams that they wanted to drop games to, especially those winnable ones where they were in it till the last minute. So unfortunately, that's kind of how it bounced this year for them. But yeah, still no concern there. I think that team's really, really good.
Next, we have Portage Northern at the aforementioned number 14, Portage Central. This one ended with Northern 0, Central 30. Uh, Portage Central just continuing to control the clock, maintain possession, and drain the life out of team.
Yeah, it feels like death by needles for some of these teams. I can't even imagine how painful it is. Like legitimately just nothing you can do against this team. You can't score on them. You can't stop them. Like they truly impose their will. Yeah, just really well rounded. Your numbers, obviously, we've referenced it a couple times. Your numbers absolutely love them, and there's a reason for it. This team doesn't allow points, and they score a lot of points. It just there's not much you can do against them. There's really no, glaring weakness right now. It seems like this team is poised to make a deep run, and like we said earlier, if they can match up against a Dexter or an Orchard Lake St. Mary's, that is a must-see TV.
Couldn't agree more. Moving on, we have the much despised Ithaca Yellow Jackets, 37, at Saginaw Nouvelle, 30. Really good bounce back win for Ithaca here. They've got two tough matchups coming down this week against Fowler and then next week against Beale City. But coming off of regular season loss, which is pretty new for most of the players as well as some of the coaches here. Um, Not something that they're used to having to adjust after. And it looks like they did so against a very sturdy Saginaw Nouvelle team that they squeaked that win over them, and they get to move on being 6-1.
Yeah, and I think this is an Ithaca team that's still not fully healthy yet,
Mm-hmm.
which stinks kind of going through this stretch with Valley Lutheran, Nouvelle, Fowler, and Beale City. Like that is a tough stretch to go into not fully healthy. So good on them to be able to kind of pull this one out. Um, Really tough team. Nouvelle, obviously they're 5-2. They've got Sacred Heart and Clarkson Evers Collegiate left on their schedule, which is going to be tough. Um, but yeah, great job by Ithaca to kind of stop the bleeding after one loss. This isn't a team that has seen many back-to-back losses, so I can't even imagine what kind of panic would set in.
Yeah, it would be, some major panic akin to what we're seeing at the collegiate level with Penn State right now.
Yeah, don't fire your head coach after such a short leash. But no, I think Coach Hesbrook is mighty safe at Ithaca, if nothing else. So he's still a really good coach. This is still a team that is dangerous. We'll see if Fowler can kind of bounce back. They got beat down by PW, which we'll talk about in a minute. Um, Tough team to try and bounce back against a team like Ithaca.
Yeah. Let's jump right into Fowler at PW. That's Fowler with 6, Palama, Westphalia, 37. As you mentioned, PW giving up 6 points here. The third time this season that they've even allowed a score in a game. They've allowed 18 points to date. Um, a very scary defense that on the other side, they've scored, I believe their lowest was in week 1 when they finished with 35 points. So a team that is just dominant on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they've legitimately just been scoring at will, basically. And we got to see it firsthand against Park River Harris. This was a team that probably could have, hung 70 on them if they wanted to. It's just such a well-rounded team for being a D7 team. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball. They have speed, they have size. Like it's a really well-rounded team. Um, Tough for Fowler, a team that went on to beat Palama Westphalia last year. and were able to snag a win at home, and now they go to PW, and PW kind of defends their turf.
Yeah. This PW team, not one I would be wanting to match up against this season. And frankly, they're a team I hope I get to see again this year because they were very fun, even in a blowout win. Just fun to see a school that's uh, pretty small and, very small rural community and watching them come out and play this dominant level of football.
Yeah, you think of a team like this as, they're gonna line it up in the T for 4 quarters and just kind of run it up the middle and, mix it up with a pitch outside. No, they were running sweeps and they were running like legitimate like mesh concepts in the passing game, like high level stuff that you do not see at D7, D8 level. And then their defense on the flip side was just flying around, super aggressive, uh, jumping routes when Barker Harris would throw, just stuffing everything between the tackles. Like this is as dominant of a D7 team as you'll find.
Yeah, I was seeing quarterback play there that we haven't really seen in D7 since, I mean, you'd have to go back to Ithaca with the Smith boys or when they had Niznak there.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of crazy that, those schools actually aren't very far apart from each other. And those are the two teams that you think of when you think of like well-rounded, really balanced offensive attacks.
Up next, we have Niles at Vicksburg. And this Niles team, another real buzzsaw, winning this one 42-7. I think that this Niles team is as legit as they come.
Yeah, they have kind of proven themselves over and over again now. Another team that your numbers really like. Really impressive by them to just kind of blow out another team that, we think of as really good. Like I thought of this as one of their biggest games on their schedule. And they just go out there and railroad them. So, uh, yeah, just insanely impressive. This is a team that was runner up last year in D4. They slide up to D3 this year and they look better than they were when they were in D4.
Yeah, crazy the consistency that they're having there and following up, like you said, moving up a division and uh, looking as good, if not better, than they did last year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Up next, we have Traverse City St. Francis 38 at number 49 Notre Dame Prep with 63. A really good win here for Notre Dame Prep. Seems like they might have been struggling, might have been having a bit of a down year, but now sitting at 5-2 and looking like they're figuring themselves out.
Yeah, 4 straight wins after starting off 1-2. That's pretty resilient. That's a team that's really well coached. Obviously, Coach Fox really done a good job with that program, defending D5 state champs. So, uh, well coached. Weren't going to give up on the season at 1-2, and they do. They do a really good job there. Yeah, and beating a Traverse City St. Francis team that we all kind of had respect for as well. So. They've dropped to 6-1, still really playing well, but they've got another test in Jackson Lumen Christie, who beat Notre Dame Prep. So you're going to have to clean up a lot of, whatever it was that allowed them to score 63 on you. You're going to have to go out there and fix that because Lumen Christie has the options to do the same thing.
Yeah. Not a lot of time to clean up those mistakes, so hopefully they get it figured out fast because that Lumen Christie team is no joke. Moving on, we have Hudson 32 at Clinton 16. This Hudson team leaving no doubt here. They've been very consistent all season. Really solid win here, doubling up Clinton.
Yeah, this is a team that is looking scary. Um, Another one of those D8 teams that, has been really consistent over the last few years. Obviously been to Ford Field, pretty familiar with making deep runs in the playoffs and, you know, winning by multiple scores against a team like Clinton, who we all thought was really good as well, um, bodes well for them moving forward.
Yeah, this Hudson team sitting right at the top of my ratings as far as D8 teams go, sitting right behind Harbor Beach and just in front of Beale City. But those three teams currently with a decent amount of separation between the rest of the D8 field, uh, looking like kind of your contenders to watch. Anything can happen, but Hudson is a legitimate title contender this year.
Yeah, no, the Tigers have done nothing but win and win pretty impressively. The only thing I can think of, the only blemish was that win against Ida where they won like 8-6 or something like that. Just kind of a weird game there. But other than that, they have left no doubt at all on what they can do. They have been as impressive as anyone in those lower divisions.
Moving on, staying in some of these smaller schools, we have Iron Mountain at Bark River Harris. Iron Mountain losing this one 14-38.
Yeah, this is matchup number two. And the only two losses for Iron Mountain are Bark River Harris. Um, they got this one done 30-22 in week two. And then it seems like they really stretched their legs, almost scored 40 here against Iron Mountain. So even more convincing of a win. And this was a team that was kind of beat up after the Paloma Westphalia game. So
Yeah,
obviously they must be getting healthier, or at least the next man up mentality is kind of working out for them. But yeah, still a really impressive UP team that um, I think has a ton of potential. And I don't think the PW game was kind of indicative. The score wasn't really of what this team could do.
yeah. Looking back to my numbers here, I do believe that I've currently got Bark River Harris as my top UP team in D8. They handled Iron Mountain, who's really their stiffest competition up there, and seemed to be moving along. Like you said, they were pretty beat up. We saw a number of injuries start to pile up in that PW game. So watching them rebound from that, get a win against a team that gave them a really good fight earlier this season. They have to be pretty comfortable moving towards the last two games of their season.
Yeah, yeah, it's always a challenge when these UP teams, kind of come down this way. So it'll be interesting to see what the matchups and the pairings end up looking like for that district, and see who they kind of get drawn in their region. Because with the right draw, this is a team that could win multiple playoff games.
Totally agree. That is going to do it for us today, folks. We will be back later this week with your previews for week 8, going over some of the ranked, some of the more notable unranked games, and dropping our game of the week.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. We got lots of exciting things coming up over the next couple weeks, so can't wait.